to the Capital Gang. I came in listening to Moses and Alan talking about car batteries. Moses sold his car, and Alan drives an underage car. So instead of talking about old killer roads that is totally impassable, you're talking batteries. What's happening to you, Moses? I don't see your qualification talking about
batteries. Could be a metaphor. It could be the sort of battery that affects us.
No, this is the morning program. Let's leave this alone. Good morning and welcome to the Capital Gang. I am Oscar Ssemujju, and in the studio I have Honorable Ssemujju in a blue jacket. You're most welcome to the Capital Gang, Honorable Ssemujju.
Thank you, Oscar, and good morning to everyone.
I also have Agatha Atuhaire, AA, seated right in Ofonopondo's seat. Maybe she's the future. Welcome to the Capital Gang, Agatha.
Thank you, Oscar. Good morning to you and to the audience out there. No, I don't aspire to be in Ofonopondo's seat. This is
He's now MP2B of other persons.
He's going to the 100 million club, so he has great aspirations, one would say. Ssemujju has no response for that one. I also have a big man in the studio, Mr. Rubongoya. You're most welcome to Gang, Mr. Rubongoya.
Well, good morning to the listeners. I don't consider myself to be a big man. I'm an ordinary citizen of Uganda.
For us, we know Secretary General of the leading opposition party. That qualifies you to be a big man.
Not really.
Interesting T-shirt you're wearing.
Yeah.
What does it say?
Free Eddie Mutwe. Eddie Mutwe, as we speak, is still in detention. The good thing is that he's now at least in a known place of detention. But for 7 days, he was under incommunicado detention, apparently in Genome House's basement. So we are still demanding for his freedom because he shouldn't be in any prison. He should be in a hospital getting medical treatment. Yeah.
I guess for you, you know Runyankore, so you don't need to go to that basement.
Very unfortunate. Of course, some people incidentally think that this tribal or ethnic tone has been used only on people of other tribes, but we have many comrades who are from Western Uganda who have been abducted and asked why they are so stupid to support Muganda. You know, and recently a gentleman was picked from Hoima called Vianney, he's a Muchiga, another bright Muhumza, and that is the narrative. That was what they were asking them. Why are you so stupid? Why are you supporting Muganda? For Bright, they were asking him, he's one of the coordinators in Western Uganda. They were asking him, why you bring Nup to Isinjiro? And they subject him to torture. And like with Eddie Mutwe and others, they warned him that if you continue doing this, you'll see what will happen to you. So for those who are abducted and they are from Buganda, for example, the narrative is always you will never rule, land Runyankore, all these things. But if they abducted someone from Western Uganda, they're asking you, why on earth? Because they view them as traitors. You've seen Genome House's tweets about myself, calling me a traitor, saying he's going to send me to Burundi and all those things. So it's not true that they only abduct people from this region, but those they abduct from the West, the narrative is always very, very unfortunate because it is also always ethnicized. If you see many of our people, once they find that you have a Runyankore name, for example, they ask you, why on earth are you with these people? So that's very, very unfortunate for our country.
When you say they, who are they?
Well, maybe we can use Eddie Mutwe's situation as a case study. But you need to understand that Eddie Mutwe is just one of the many, of the thousands. Like we've been indicating in the lead up to the last election, we had over 2,000 victims of abductions. Many of them went through the military courts, whether unit disciplinary committees, divisions court-martial, the general court-martial. Others were just dumped in places. Others are still missing. We've been talking about the 18 missing persons, the Damulira Jones of this world, John Bosco Chibarama and others, Kanata Muhammad and others. Those are still missing up to now. But even since the last election, the abductions have been going on. They've been abducting almost every week. We record new abductions from different parts of the country. But in the case of Eddie Mutwe, he was, of course, like I said, kept under incommunicado detention for 7 days, subjected to grave torture. The last time I went to check on him at Masakama in prison, when he came into the room, everyone was crying. His mother, I mean, even the leaders could not hold their tears. And that reminded me of the situation in which our President Honorable Kyagulanyi was when, after the Arua episode, I was one of the few people who was able to see him. And I remember as soon as they carried him into the room, everybody, including the then chairperson of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, the Lord Mayor Irasu Lukwago and others, were wailing. They were actually not crying. It's only our president's wife who did not cry. I think she I don't know where she got that strength from, but everybody was wailing in that room because of the state in which he was. He was just looking like a thug beaten off the streets by a mob. So with Eddie Mutwe, that's the same thing, the situation we found him in. And he told us what happened to him. He had been electrocuted. He had been waterboarded. He was demonstrating these things. He was, a piece of cloth was put in his mouth. And, water kept flowing over him. He was forced to put on Museveni's T-shirt for the time he was there. He was asked Amagara, which means how is life in Runyankole, and he simply said, Tebanagampa. They haven't given me, because he did not know what to respond. And that attracted so many beatings, and they were mocking him how he could not know Runyankole. And they said, by the time you live here, you certainly will have learned Runyankole. He was handcuffed, and the cuffs stepped on, which ate into his skin. The same thing with his legs. And those of you who have been able to see him could see the wounds on his arms. He told us that he was being flogged a minimum of 4 times every day that he spent there. Those are the Runyankole sessions General Hosi was talking about, because he said these were the torture sessions. And every time a torture session begins, they put on loud volume such that the neighbors cannot hear. Remember, he told us that he was not in any military facility at the start, or he was not even at a police station or whatever. He was in someone's home. He could see that this was a beautiful home where he was being kept in a basement. And so maybe they knew that the neighbors could hear him crying out or something. So these thugs would, put the volume up. And then he was forced to kneel down and swear allegiance to General Museveni and his son. And he told us that the CDF personally participated in his torture. He could identify him. So you can imagine. I mean, it's you can't believe this is happening in 2025. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
With all the laws we have in the country.
What do you say to those who are sarcastic and say he will heal quickly, like his president healed quickly, or like Dr. Kizza Besigye healed quickly?
Well, those are monkeys just laughing at a burning bush. It will come for them. There is no one safe in a sinking boat. That is what our country is now. Anybody who thinks they are safe is lying to themselves. And whether you're in the military, whether you're in the police, you saw a police station the other day being attacked by the military, the OC station being brutalized and all that. So how can anybody in their senses, find... one of the things that really bothered Eddie Mutwe was that the people who were doing these things to him were actually laughing. They were mocking him, seemingly happy. He said one officer came and spat in his face, and that really dehumanized him so much. They took pictures of him naked, and they were sending them. So anybody who thinks this is a joking matter is really, really playing with fire, I would say. General Museveni is one who was saying people were playing with fire the last time. But I think anybody at this point where we are, who jokes. I normally see these bots on X who are joking about these situations, but they don't seem to understand that it is coming for them. Yeah.
Agatha, it's interesting or ironic when you and Rubongoya are the lawyers in the studio, but when he says it's good he's in a formal prison, can you imagine such a statement?
Yep. I can imagine, and it really speaks about what we've been reduced to. We just look for the less terrible situation. So like he said, so now when they are in gazetted detention, even if it is for no crime, like we know in the case of Eddie Mutwe and many others, we are at least there's that feeling that they are not dead, they are not being tortured to death. But when people are held without any of their relatives, any of their lawyers, any of their loved ones knowing where they are, it is always a bad situation. I don't know if David Lewis talked about the other people that were kidnapped with Eddie Mutwe. I don't think you guys know where they are up to now.
We know where one of them is. One of them was actually released.
Yeah.
There's a young man called Kyagulanyi Najib. So there were two. One was Kassim Sebude, another one was Kyagulanyi Najib, a 22-year-old young man who was just going about his business, picked up. But when they released him, first of all, when they were arresting him, when they were abducting him, they put him on gunpoint, asked to surrender his phone and all the money he had to these people who took him, and they never returned these things to him. And then when they were dropping him,
never returned the phone.
Yeah, even the phone, they took it, they remained with it. And even when they were bringing him back, they drove him up to a certain place, put him on gunpoint, and told him if he dares look back, he will be shot. So you can imagine the state that we're in. So this young man, we know where he is, but Kassim Sebude, we don't know where he is up to now. And just to add on that, they told him not to speak out. So we've been trying to engage him, to try to convince him. But you can sense the trauma in him, because they told him, if you dare speak out, we'll come for you. Just like Eddie Mutwe was told, if he continues doing what he's doing, he'll be castrated. That was unrecorded.
So the thing is that...
So Agatha, what's the charge against Eddie Mutwe?
Robbery now?
Aggravated robbery.
Yes.
Oh.
The charge is robbery. And so they... Now, I didn't know Eddie Mutwe had been kidnapped that day on Sunday. It was a Sunday.
Yeah.
So I received the message from... there's someone that sends me information. I don't know them. And I have never known how to take that information, whether they are credible or not. So this person sends me information and says, Eddie Mutwe is being held at CMI. They want to add him on the same charge as Akilewo Chivumbi and others. So I called Rubongoya here and said, has Eddie Mutwe been kidnapped? He said, yes. I think that was like an hour after he'd been kidnapped. So between that time and the day, I think the CDF Mhozkine Rugaba said he has him, I kept asking him, and because we kept expecting that he's going to be produced in Masaka, where Akilewo Chivumbi was, to be added on that, but he was nowhere to be seen until this guy now, the CDF comes and says he has him, and even with evidence. Now, the question you ask about people like David Lewis here saying, at least now he's in proper detention. Disregard for the law in this country has become so commonplace. It's normal. It's been normalized because it happens every day. Look at the case of Eddie Mutwe. The law that were the law provisions that were disregarded, that were violated. You start with the Constitution, so many provisions there. You go to the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act. You go to international laws. The person came and admitted to a crime. No one has arrested that person. No one has nothing, because that was a crime. You're saying you're torturing someone. Torture is, and torture is not just you're not just committing a crime. You see, the Constitution has provisions that they say for under Chapter 4, where the Bill of Rights is. There are those laws that the state can, the rights that the state can do away with in the interest of the state, public interest and security and all that. But torture is one of those that is absolute. It's a non-derogable right. No one can have an excuse for violating that right. So we have people that no one has come up and questioned. The police is quiet. We have a police that should be apprehending criminals. We have, but among the laws that were violated, there are provisions of the UPDF Act itself. We have the army quiet. We were all happy that the Human Rights Commission said something. We were not used to that. But even what it said, it really still fell below, because It issued a release order and stopped there. So that's what
Does it have power?
Yeah, it has a lot of powers.
Mm.
It has powers to summon, it has powers to arrest, it has it. Yeah. But I think the only thing it could do is to issue a release order. And that's where we are going. It's a bad trend.
Yeah.
It's the breakdown in the rule of law, where people are...
There's a breakdown because I don't see any policeman arresting a CDF. Not in Uganda.
You know, there's nowhere, there's equality before the law under the constitution. There's nowhere it says that if a CDF breaks the law, I don't know if it's the CDF or being Museveni's son or both, but you cannot break the law and we keep quiet. We cannot just keep quiet here and be at the mercy and whims of one human being, because that's what the law had come to cure. Now, if we are subjected
we
to
had
the
a
whims
CDF, General Kazini. Would anyone have arrested him?
Did he ever come out and say he has he's torturing someone?
Okay, he said other things. But I wanted to put to you, Agatha, if we eventually we knew that Eddie Mutwe had been taken to a basement when he was brought to court, there was some kind of confirmation. But the scenario that Rubongoya describes here, you could say those were robbers that had taken that Chagulanyi fellow, the young man.
Oh, you think there's a difference between the people that took Chagulanyi and the people that took Eddie Mutwe?
Oh.
No, because you're dealing with thugs. People who are breaking the law are thugs. So, and this is the other thing I wanted to mention. So Chagulanyi, Eddie Mutwe is being held by the CDF Kinerugaba in his basement, but guess who produced him in court? Police, the people that were supposed to arrest the person who was torturing him, and produced him in a way that no one should see. You saw how they put a wall so that no one, because I think the photos of a tortured Kakwenza, they have never recovered from what it did to them. So now they want to torture and make sure that no one sees this person until they have healed. And you know, you have enablers in that. The people that should be coming in to save the situation, the police and the judicial officers. The law is very clear about a tortured accused, that if an accused appears before a judicial officer where their non-derogable rights, like I was saying here, have been violated, and the non-derogable rights of Eddie Mutwe that were violated, you start with the fair hearing in a court of law that, you know, he had disappeared for a long time without him being produced in court. You go to torture, freedom from torture. And
did the magistrates in that case do the right thing by saying he should be taken for medical attention?
No, this is what I'm explaining. The magistrate in that case, what they were supposed to do is to acquit that person, is to dismiss the charges, because the person is appearing before them tortured.
That is the law.
That is the law. But even if that law was not there, I am thinking, why are you sending someone to get medical attention in prison? And David Lewis can tell you that in that prison, they are only giving him painkillers. So why not release this person to get treatment and then you charge a person?
The magistrate said take him to Masaka Hospital.
Is he in Masaka Hospital?
No.
He's in prison.
He's in a sick bed in prison.
But finally to you, Agatha, are there other political prisoners?
Very many.
That maybe have not been charged, or
so
in addition to those that have not been released ever since the court-martial was closed?
No, I don't know about the new ones now. The ones I know are the ones that were before the court-martial that you say was closed. How many months is it now? And these people have never been transferred to the civil courts.
Only one has.
Yeah, only one the other day appeared. And I am glad that Honorable Katuntu is here to speak again about bail, because we have normalized people applying for bail and it takes 2 months to review that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome Honorable Robert Kasule Sevunya and Honorable Abdu Katuntu. Both of them are wearing the fanciest shirts in the studio. We thank their donors. Honorable Ssemujju.
You're only made to say cheap, but
no. They are not cheap.
I'm glad to be here too. By the time I arrived, this looked like a court session of some sort.
Well, now we have a third lawyer, so you never. Yes.
I'm glad to be here.
And I only have one NRM. You know, a friend of mine, we were having a chat about getting an NRM gangster on the panel. I said, that is the description of extreme sports.
I know.
Extreme sports. So, Honorable Ssemujju, political.
But I'm glad to find my old friends.
Yes.
The only person I've never met in life is
David Rubongoya.
But I'm happy to be at the gang.
For you, that you don't need a basement because the big man said he will crush you. Gave us the date. So every time I'm with you, I celebrate that day. I think it was in May. I think
May was best.
May was best.
He
Yours was.
said he will kill me.
It's for Heroes Day. Heroes Day is not in May.
Yeah.
Heroes Day is the 9th of June.
Yeah, days yet to come.
I think yours was in May. So every time I'm with you, I thank the Lord.
You see, all what you are describing has happened in this country before. Haji Aziz Kasuja, who was the chairman of the Electoral Commission, he was part of the Amin government. He was arrested, taken to the military detention in Mashindie. But these are people he was working with. So he said, you guys, why don't you release me? And one of the soldiers told him, you are safer Haji here, safer in prison. And he stayed there until Amin was overthrown. So there are occasions, and there will be occasions when you will thank God that you are in a prison. Because there are others who are in the basement. And the things that are happening, I spoke to an old man in Mutondwe. And he told me some of the people who were killed under Amin, the instructions from Amin and his army men sometimes was not to kill. But because they were enjoying and celebrating torture, each time they send out ordinary soldiers to go and bring a person, they knew that if you bring him bleeding, the bosses will be happy. So on their own, they will begin the torturing from the spot where they arrest you from up to when they are producing you before they are found. And sometimes people will die. So the people Lewis was talking about who are disappeared, I think when the torture becomes too much and you are about to die, they are not going to produce a body. They are going to, you will just disappear. So when you are returned in the form that Edmutwe was returned, then they will shield you as you go to court because they don't want that torture to be filmed and to be broadcast. But if the torture is too much and you die, then you will disappear. You become, so they disappear you.
We have the 18 that.
Yeah, so they can deny that they have arrested you and so on and so forth. So Muhoozi Kainerugaba, Mr. Museveni's son, is taking us where the Idi Amin is where. And I think maybe the second Obote administration, because they are relatives who got lost. The Abdu Katundu's government of Obote. I lost an uncle together with a cousin. I told you the story here. They were driving a van. So Obote soldiers wanted to use the van. They took the van, but together with the driver and conductor. And both the three, the van and the conductor and driver disappeared. We never saw them. So those stories, many families have them. So where Muhoozi Kainerugaba has taken us, and as I keep saying, you see, not just in in 2025, but the majority of people who are running our security apparatus are people who have gone to school. They are run. Some of them with the first-class degrees, others with master's degree. For them to behave like soldiers, because Kasiri Gwanga told me when he was being enrolled in the military, they will take your measurements. So if the chest is of a certain size, then they say you're fit. So you are entering the military, you are being enrolled because of the size of your chest and height. So today, people at a cadet level, you must be above senior 6. So for Muhoozi Kainerugaba to be celebrating torture, and he tells the whole world that I am here enjoying. He says every day I am punching Eddie Mutwe. I am now going to castrate him. I am now teaching him Runyankole. And then he is produced in the manner in which he was produced in Masaka. It's the highest level of impunity. Because Eddie Mutwe is known, there are people who are hunting for him. The whole country was, but there are others who are less known. In the last elections, when the Honorable Chagulanyi got arrested, they are now arresting everybody. So there are children in my neighborhood who were thrown in a sugar plantation in Mukono. They had been picked at a construction site because they were in red. Okay, I've got them children. They are young people of 20. And the only reason they were picked was because they were in red. So the soldiers picked them at a construction site. Up to now, after so many months, they don't know where they were. And they told me the same story, that during that time, some of the soldiers were nice. They would come and tell you, you continue praying. If Museveni loses this election, you're going to die. So you pray that Museveni wins. There you have a chance of getting out. Said, but there are those who would come drunk. We are being beaten. We are a source of entertainment for them. A whole night we are being beaten. And you keep praying for the other one who doesn't beat, that is the one who is in charge of you. But Oscar, these things have been gradual. The militarization of civil order. One time my sister got arrested by the crime intelligence commanded by Damalida. And I went to see her after speaking to Tafire, to David Muhoozi, people who are in charge of police. Where they had put her with my younger brother, and the stories of the others, but even the environment under which they were holding people. For us Muslims, we have become source of entertainment. The other day they arrested the tens of them and shot them. People who are on handcuffs, they shot them that they were running. Because if you have arrested the ADF suspects, you cannot tell me they are not on handcuffs and you're driving them around Kampala for 6 hours. And then you say, in the 7th hour, you kill them and you say they were running. Then they went to arrest Chirevu. I know his father comes from Chazang. At night, that guy was arrested together with his wife and a guest. And then he's shot in front of everybody, including his children. And then they say he was running. You have surrounded all manners, clans of security agencies surrounded the house of a helpless person. And then you say he was running away.
So this was during,
No, this is Anam 7. Chirevu was shot just about a year ago. So the things I'm talking about now.
Different from Zebra Senyange.
Zebra Senyange, this one was shot recently. Senyange is during the elections. But they have continued murdering people just like that. In the past, Oscar, this government will deny if a person was tortured. I remember Dr. Besigye, when they shot his finger, they said Besigye injured himself. They will never take responsibility for torture. They will never celebrate it. Now you have at the helm of the military, Museveni's son, who says, now this one I have finished. You are the one next. So he celebrates it. He shares it on social media for everybody to see. And the whole country, the level of vulnerability that your mother will call you, please, why don't you leave those things before Museveni's son kills you?
Yeah.
So we are at that stage, and the old Museveni is quiet. He's quiet, he doesn't say anything, because you are now dealing with militarization, but also the highest level of tribalism. That the guy for us, the Tutsis, you will see us, you opposition, you will see the Tutsi this year. I have seen one of the tweets. We are going to teach you Runyankole. And that comes from a CDF, not an Amin CDF, but a Museveni CDF. And Museveni keeps quiet about that. All I saw.
Museveni doesn't keep quiet. He blames the victims. He comes with the letters saying.
I have seen a social media post which was sent to me, in which you are saying we must now learn to speak very well in the public.
Yeah.
that it was attributed to Museveni, that he now says we must speak very well. What he didn't add is that if you don't, Muhoozi will come for you.
Yeah.
Maybe he needed to add that. So really we are, and that's why
I think the letter says hate speech is not allowed.
But hate speech, someone who beats a person and he says, I am beating you because you must run Runyankole. Why don't you know Runyankole? You ask me, Magara, if I don't know, you beat me. So what more hate?
Maybe the message was
No,
that Museveni's son gets a message from a tweet from his father.
And he said that while chairing the senior commander of the army, his son was there. In fact, in his tweet, he put the picture of his son, that this is what he said during the meeting. And you remember what he said after Kawempe? That it's the opposition that was causing that violence, as if the opposition has an army that is wearing jet and whatever, and those uniforms.
Let's go to Robert here. Robert Kasule Ssemujju. I invited you to talk about NRM elections.
Yeah.
But because I'm not so sure what you would say.
I'm surprised.
Surprised how? Are you not a Ugandan?
When you have
Ugandan doesn't
when
mean
you
that
have-
I'm everywhere near you, ADF being arrested. As if these people are in a theater of
Robert, these questions make people from your party stammer. They never
Yeah,
talk
we
in
stammer because
sentences.
it is
So, when you have like a meeting, do you ever have an opportunity to discuss these things?
yeah, that's why not in the caucus. That's why we say you talk in the right in the right forum. Then discuss general issues, issues of the generals in a talk show. But
Many of us are
what
with
they are
you,
talking
Robert.
about
Whenever we
is-
talk about these things, the stammering comes up. The
yeah, but
short sentences.
we're also shocked to learn some of these things. This is not the Uganda we know. We know a Uganda that has been, for most of the 40 years, we have been celebrating peace, the rule of law. I think the parliament, I think the other, is that 8th parliament when somebody brought the anti-torture,
Prohibition of torture.
prohibition of torture. And we're all celebrating that we're moving in the right direction. So when we hear what we are hearing, we don't want to believe, but some things are happening. And exacerbated by social media, somebody posts something and you think maybe this is a katemba of some sort. Why do you post such a thing? And you are not simple people. Parliament is also here. They are not confronting such
At the parliament, Muhoozi said,
excesses.
I'll come and beat you.
Yeah,
So you want us to be beaten.
saying I'm coming to beat you. You do your work. You do your work. Parliament is as quiet as an envelope. So sometimes you tend to believe, sometimes you don't. You tend not to believe. So
There was a
those
social
who are in
media,
charge,
Robert. There was a social media post
yes.
showing that the bishops have finally spoken out, and it was like,
Yeah, but this is okay. Bishops may, but that's not.
They did not speak.
That's not their core. Okay, that might be their. They might take it as their core. It is the politicians who are calling them. You speak out on our behalf, please. Are you not in Uganda? Speak out. Speak out.
It's not that long.
But it is the politicians who are benefiting from the resources of the government at the moment who should be at the forefront. They have campaigned for many things. They have refused to go to parliament for many things. Why are they not refusing to go to parliament for some of these exercises we are hearing? And you expect the Wananchi to come and to be the main. They say they are telling the people that it should be you. You are quiet. You are stupid. But it is them. We are the leaders now. We are not leaders of tomorrow. Well, good enough we have been here. Especially, I've been on the street when I was young. I used to pick badges for UPC from all the big houses here. Ageta, Count Africa is here, where people were shot while dancing and drinking. People fight. So we have been here. And I'm saying on the Eddie Mutwe's arrest and torture.
Not arrest, torture.
Yeah. You know, that is the narrative now you want to use. You want to use whether it's arrest or or kidnap.
It's not a narrative.
You used your narrative.
Okay.
Let him use his one.
I'm saying arrest, and he's saying I should. So, and those are pedestrian ways of doing things. You can't torture somebody and then you bring him to court the next day. I mean, so we are also confused at some point because of these excesses. And I think these are, we cannot say the whole army is involved. These are individuals, Ssemujju and their friends are quarreling.
The CDF is
and it's manifesting in people suffering. No, he can be charged in his own name. And he will be charged if he's found guilty. So, and everybody, this is a global world. You cannot hide. What you have done on camera. So it's incumbent upon those who are in leadership to arrest the situation before it gets worse. Before we get involved, the wananchi get involved. It's the leaders. The police is here. They should be on this station answering some of those questions. Why did you appear at the end of the taking somebody who you did not arrest to court? It is now not the Solicitor General, the
DPP.
The DPP to weigh the situation and know people. I mean, what are you doing? You have professionalized. They have increased the salaries of judges. They have increased the salaries of DPP officials, the attorneys, and everybody. So why are we paying for all this much when nobody is doing anything? So it is incumbent upon those who are in leadership, who are in those positions, that are directly responsible. Instead of for us calling for bishops to speak, now I've heard people even alluding that this new pope maybe may help. No. It is us here who should solve those problems. Those contradictions should be solved by us before they escalate. I mean, it doesn't help for you to come here and narrate a story as if it was a movie. Then I was arrested. Then he said I was what up. Please go to court. If it means being there on a daily basis until this problem is solved, before another one is arrested. Now, what are we waiting for Agatha to be arrested
But people
to arrest the situation?
These people are in court.
That's not enough.
What is enough? Because you see,
saying it's not enough.
Ssemujju,
Yes.
these things you're telling us, you should tell them to your party. The solving of these problems.
No, but even when you say party is far away from the actors.
No, but maybe let me inform
Tell the government. Tell the CDF, tell the IGP, tell the Minister of Internal Affairs, those are the people responsible.
Tell them in what language. So the people that are in charge are the ones violating.
Write petitions. We need to see Honorable Katuntu, Honorable.
Well, let's go to
Where do we take our petitions? Do I bring them to you?
We have seen people going to Parliament to petition Parliament.
But
petition Parliament.
But Mohozi is above Parliament.
No, you can't say Mohozi is above Parliament. When you are the custodian, of the law, you can't say.
But how many has he been summoned and he says you are clowns and nothing happens?
Then let the Parliament not sit before he comes. Enforce it.
Right.
Now, do you want somebody from the street to enforce that?
So for me, in the court seat, Robert says,
Mr. Moderator, the people in the seat, the people in people have elected to Parliament should do more than narrating the stories on Capital Radio. They should be more active. Maybe Agatha and Rubongoya can, but Ssemujju and Honorable Katuntu here should do more. That Parliament has the power to summon anybody.
Why can't you do more? Is it that for you not bothered by that?
No, but I'm talking about they are here. Let them defend themselves.
Abdu, you're on microphone. Last week, Abdu, you're not here. We had Audrey Kravogo, and again on that particular question, he said it is not his work. Robert Ssemujju has gone further and said, "You parliamentarians, you can do better."
Well, first of all, I don't want to be the position my brother Ssemujju is in. Because under normal circumstances, there is no he would look good. It's possible, whatever you are saying, really, I'm sure when you go back home and reflect, you'll say, why did they bring that topic when I was there?
It's a sad situation.
Yeah, but then you start now looking for who to blame and you are running away from where the problem is, which I think Ugandans should get serious about some of these issues. But I really sympathize with you because some time back, I was more or less in the same position. There was after 1986. And at that time, UPC had just been thrown out of power. There are many things that were coming up, and retrospectively would look back and say, oh, did that happen really? You know, you sort of bury your head in shame. And what these events are doing is actually to make people like Ssemujju look extremely bad. Extremely bad. Mr. Ssemujju, you're not looking good. Just know this should just be unacceptable by any reasonable Ugandan. And the problem is, it is not about opposition, in my view. When there is a breakdown of law and order, you wouldn't know who would be the next victim. You wouldn't know. All of us crave for a country where there's fairness, where there's freedom, and you cannot, under any circumstances, justify torture. It's not possible. We all needed what we call a lethal army. A lethal army is supposed to be using that capacity to sort out enemies of the state, enemies of Uganda, not enemies of government, because government will have opponents. You don't use the lethal capacity you have built over time to sort out the opposition. That doesn't help. First of all, it is not correct. It is unconstitutional. But even in common sense, I don't know who benefits from all this. I don't know who does. Does the NRM benefit from it? No. Does the President himself benefit from it? Who does? Who does? Okay. All of us are losers. Even MA is a loser in this thing. Because you see, what distinguished the NRA from the past armies, whether Uganda Army, whether Uganda National Liberation Army, PASCO was discipline. And everybody used to talk about NRA and discipline. You know, the soldiers of the NRA really were people soldiers. You could see it. Nobody, even if we woke up and found around 20, 30 soldiers outside, you would just go and hug them. So what are they doing and so on? If we walked out of this studio, Oscar, and there are 30, 40 outside there, and there is a van there, I don't know how many of you would be thinking. Yeah? I'm sure.
I think these days they call it drone, not van.
Okay, whatever it is. And that goes back to the time of Idi Amin, for those of us who are a little bit older. There used to be those cars, UVS. If you walked out and I was a UVS,
The black one.
Citroen or Datsun CNSS or 160J, Datsun or a Honda Civic, you would know you would be in trouble if there is a UVS. So the other day we were going to see some ambassador, me and Dashman, and a few Muslim MPs. So we have vans at Parliament. I think they are the ones they call drones.
The drones also.
So as we entered, Asman made the comment, said, we are sitting in a drone on our own terms. And to him, even just that drone today is a symbol of torture, of kidnap. Really, we can't afford to do this. And the people, especially the NRA soldiers, who did sacrifice, of course, there were two categories, but there are many NRA soldiers who thought things were not going on well within Uganda. So they thought they would contribute to the peace, and that it had reached unmanageable levels. They are ready even to lay down their lives so that we live in a better country. I don't know what they think when they hear, read, and see these sort of stories. So I think, and Ssemujju, my brother Ssemujju, it is not true that Parliament has not done anything. This thing has been on the floor, I don't know how many times. It has even been in the committee, I don't know how many times there. But
we are getting walked out of Parliament.
So
if you are living in Uganda,
what Parliament's supposed to do, they've done. What these guys, the press is supposed to do, they have done. For example, when Eddie Mutwe, I was watching it on television, was
They have done
appearing,
and been beaten.
that have also become victims. And when Eddie Mutwe was being,
That's what I'm saying. They should
I
not
think,
stop.
arraigned in court,
Mm.
you could see those were captured on television.
Mm.
The shielding, they were captured on social media. And they brought out the public,
hiding of the victim.
that sort of thing. It was
Yes.
brought out. So I think everybody is trying to do. And my prayer, really, and I beseech the powers that be, is to listen to the people of this country. Because nobody is happy with it, including members of the National Resistance Movement. I dare say.
Not just including. We are part of Uganda. We are not happy.
You didn't speak like you are part of Uganda.
I said we are not happy
With what Moses
of
did.
these excesses. And we are saying it is it's not the whole army doing. I mean, whoever is doing it on behalf of the army is also, I think, deranged. Don't malign our army as if the whole army is in this.
And Ssemujju,
And the
Ssemujju
whole of
in his
NRM
simple
is
thinking,
in this.
Ssemujju in his simple thinking, he thinks there is an army.
There is an army.
I sympathize
Anyway,
with
if you
I don't
underrate
want to go
the-
to
the-
the, let's go to continue going to the substance.
Okay.
Let
To
me switch off the microphone so you can continue.
Yeah, to me, if you want to say, oh, this army here, this army here, this army, and I said last time, some time back here, about the CDF. I said, you see, the CDF is not an ordinary officer. The CDF is the Chief of Defense Forces. What he does, an officer can do. Because he said this is what the boss wants us to do. And that's where the problem is, because you are going to find even the junior officers doing exactly the same thing because they think it is normal. And they can't even say, but this is what the commander does, or this is what the commander says. So once you do that, it affects the entire army command. So at some point, and maybe we need to, the problem with generals these days, they use the time when even what the Defense Council, the High Command discuss eventually gets out to the public. You are the investigative journalists, and they would read the same. Maybe I hope they address some of these issues in that meeting. Say this thing, because the army should be, Oscar, very, very concerned about its image. No army would want to have a bad image. No army should. Because the army should be people's army. People should be proud of their own armies. Nobody would want to see that if it is the army, then there's a problem. NRA, that's why at that time it was NRM, NRA, because they were fused. The National Resistance Movement and the National Resistance Army. Because whatever the NRA was trying to do was fused with the movement, which was the People's Movement at that time. Never mind that some of us disagreed, but the credit you can't take the NRA away from is that they had discipline. They had the discipline of the army. And really, I don't know whether this sort of thing could have happened in 1988, around there 90. Maybe it would be very difficult for anybody to comprehend.
Throughout the 90s.
Yeah, so maybe even throughout the 90s.
Yeah.
So my view, and really, to the army, listen to what the Ugandans are telling you. You need to change course. You need to change course. If this thing goes the way it is going, then you are going down the annals of history like the Amini Army. You are going down the annals of history like the UNLA. You see, Ssemujju teasing me here and there. I sometimes have no defense. I just laugh it off. But really, it is bad to have that sort of history, and it is tagged onto you. And Nus was okay. Nus produced people like me, so don't mind about Nus. Nus produced Rugunda.
The Ivan Okuda says, thanks for the show, gang. The success of a colonialism project in Uganda and across Africa was divide and rule along ethnic and religious lines. The UPC government largely built a divide and rule framework around religious divisions. The NRM has equally relied on divide and rule along many ethnic lines. There was a time in northern Uganda, and Teso from 1988-2003. There were crimes against humanity being committed while the rest of Uganda was in love with NRM. It appears now that the heat has shifted to central Uganda. Can the panel explore what it will take for us to mold a true Uganda nation? 2 minutes to the closure of this topic. Rubongoya, David Louis Rubongoya, you answer that one.
Yeah, of course, the question of identity and ethnicity in all this is very, very unfortunate, but it also projects a gloomy picture for our country if nothing is done quickly. And that is why you saw recently our leader in NUP wrote to some of the elders in Ankole and Chigezi sub-regions to tell them that, look, yes, Genome 7 is quality Habura, which means not advisable, but please try to talk to him, caution him about the direction the country is taking. Maybe he can listen to you. And if he cannot listen to you, at least you will have discharged your responsibility. Like I've told you many times, in addition to what his son writes on Twitter and social media and all that, the people who go to these torture dungeons and return, they tell you how everything is ethnicized and how they are, being mocked for the size of about the size of their noses. And for the Muslims, it's worse. Like I said the last time I was here, for the Muslims, it's worse. If you're a Muslim and you're a Muganda, that's double jeopardy for you in those torture chambers. So it's very, very unfortunate, and I think everybody must condemn it. I mean, right now you can see that we are, I think the ordinary people of Uganda have tried to gel, to connect, to be one Uganda, to be one people, to live in harmony. But then you have someone at the highest peak of the military and the juniors doing this kind of thing in the name of tribe. And I mean, when Edim was explaining what these guys were doing to him, someone spitting on your face and, mocking you because of, it's just ridiculous and horrific, to say the least.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, maybe I'll just quote a line from the letter our leader wrote to these leaders, is that the worst catastrophes in human history did not start with people killing each other, with gas chambers, the Holocaust and all that. It started with this kind of talk. So that's why I'm saying that those people who are just joking about this situation, a monkey is just laughing about a burning bush, and before long it will come for them. So everybody needs to know that this is a very, very, very serious situation.
Okay, let's stop for a break. Someone says, remind Ssemujju that the army recently overran a police station in Lubowa. Who has been brought to account? We'll come back from the break. Large discussion on past armies and so on. Abdu, are you going to the DFCU jazz concert at the Serena Hotel?
No, tomorrow.
No, it is tonight.
Yeah, I'll go tomorrow.
You can't. I was looking forward to seeing you there. I've been invited.
I'll go
So,
tomorrow.
You'll go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's start with you again, David Lewis Rubongoya, on our next topic. A lot of people say they are tired.
What Rubongoya was saying,
Go on, respond.
that his leader wrote to leaders in Ankole. And the Ankole and what? Then that is also ethnicity, playing in the game of ethnicity also. You should have written to Ugandans, leaders in Uganda. Why focus on it? No, we mean the people in Ankole sit to decide what the army does, what the leaders do. No, that is the
So
lack of
you
a
write
strategy.
to an elder in Uganda to stop people from being tortured to run in Runyankole.
But that is a wrong strategy. This is a nation. When you start writing to leaders of a particular area, that you are the people who produce this sun. So please, I think that's the wrong. Yeah, but that is the wrong strategy.
If somebody is saying they are committing crimes in the name of
That is
a
the
particular
ethnicity you
group
want
of
to-
people, no. Listen, the strategy here is someone is committing crimes, but trying to tie them on an entire group of people.
who
And
did
we are
that?
saying, but
They are not-
it's as if you don't live in this country.
No,
and,
but when
hopefully you-
Mohozi says I'm teaching, I'm going to teach you in Ankole, does not mean.
Have you seen other tweets that he
push
has
this
put?
narrative
And
into
I've told you that just don't look at it in the sense of these tweets. I've told you it is a practice. It is a practice. So the point is,
Louis.
these elders from Chigezi and Ankole have an opportunity.
In Chigezi,
One,
you ain't even
to disassociate
Inside people in
themselves.
Chigezi?
Listen,
Yes.
one, to disassociate themselves from this madness. Number two, to condemn it, and hopefully to caution General Museveni, if you can see this.
There are people who have condemned it.
Yeah.
And Honorable Ssemujju can give his opinion. So it is okay. Not just yet, you.
So you are also.
Yeah. Because if you are not understanding what danger this portends for us as Banyankole, I don't know where you have been.
No, but how? This is the army.
No,
You are talking about the army. You are talking about the CDF.
But
What has it got to do with the
the
Munyankole?
one who said that he's teaching someone Runyankole.
That
You
is his
hear
own
that
narrative
first.
as an individual.
But- So let me tell you, for us where we walk.
He did not
what
consult
we are
leaders
told,
in Ankole.
What we are told, what we are asked. You are one of them. You guys are the ones that are mistreating us, that are harassing us. Now, every Munyankole has to come out and disassociate themselves and actually associate with
Through
the
which forum now?
with the people. With
Well,
the people,
ignore
the
Agatha.
victims.
Oscar, when PAFO started, the Abdu started the PAFO. I covered them.
I want to talk about NUP and
I was
NRM.
I was in the media. The Honorable Elia Kategaya, in one of the PAFO meetings in Imbarara, he said when Obote was overthrown, people went to Akokoro. They wanted to see if Akokoro was different from Uganda. And he said, you see, once you as a tribe, as an ethnic group, you may not even have sat somewhere to appoint someone to become a leader. But the anger of the country is going to